In early January 1992, the Happy Mondays were not in a good place. Despite having released a smash hit album a little over a year earlier, relationships within the band were fraying badly. There had been a fallout between various band members over one of the most contentious issues in any band: money and rates of pay. But as they were preparing to make their fourth album, rates of pay were not the only thing causing relationships in the band to crumble behind the scenes. To make things worse, Factory Records, to whom the band were signed, were going under financially, and the Mondays, along with New Order, were being put under pressure to get a new album made. Because if they did one in time, and it was a big enough success and brought in enough money, that could have saved the label. But tensions over pay and pressure from the record company wasn't all. The band at this time was kind of split along a scale of madness. You had guitarist Mark Day, who was quite straight, responsible and mellow on one end. You had Shaun Ryder, mad as a box of frogs, on the other end, and then all the rest of them somewhere along that line in the middle. And, as you might expect, the biggest sense of dislike and the biggest gap had grown up between the two members who were the furthest apart, Mark and Shaun.
So just before Christmas, we got asked for a meeting, where do you want to do the new album? And I remember him in the rehearsal room saying, Amsterdam, in Manchester, at Stock Aitken and Waltman's studio, or Barbados. And we all just went, Barbados. And Mark went, let's do it in Manchester. And we all, because obviously Amsterdam was out, can you imagine? Barbados, away from everyone, people coming visiting, so there were no distractions. And it was hot, and getting away from miserable Manchester in January. And there was some stuff brewed, so I don't really know. There was loads of things going on with the band. We could feel the end was coming, no one was getting on. Then I got told Mark had left, and he'd been fired. I can't remember the reason.
According to the excellent Happy Mondays book Excess All Areas, a meeting took place on the 10th of February 1992 to finalise details. Shaun wasn't at the meeting, and, unusually, nor was Mark Day. Shaun had sacked him. The band were shocked. What the fuck was going on? Shaun felt, culturally, he wasn't on board. Remember that phrase, Shaun felt that Mark wasn't culturally on board, because we'll come back to it in a minute. After 9 years in the band, Shaun had sacked Day with an abrupt phone call and no explanation. Day was hurt and confused, saying, I'd done nothing wrong. He felt that the whole band had turned on him. It was as if they were saying it was all his fault. As if, he said, he was the one going to make the next album shit. That was not the case. Communication within the band was now being conducted via Chinese whispers. So, why did frontman Shaun fire guitarist Mark from the Happy Mondays? What did he mean by saying Mark wasn't culturally on board? We've just looked at the official version from Excess All Areas, but there is a very different version of this tale, which is told in Shaun Ryder's book from over 10 years ago, Twisting My Melon. And in this book, Shaun gives a very different perspective on the whole story, and one that's not really repeated anywhere else. And so, hoping to get to the truth, I talked about this with Mark Day. In Shaun Ryder's Twisting My Melon book, he says, Mark Day had actually decided to leave the Mondays at one point, just before we started making Yes Please. He had pretty much decided he was off for various reasons, mainly his Mrs. Jane, who was like a little Yoko. She'd say to me, you don't tell Mark what to do anymore, blah, blah, blah. So Mark was going to go and set up his own band. I don't need this. I'm off. I've had enough of Shaun. I've had enough of Bez. He didn't really appreciate what we did. Mark would say, I don't even like the Mondays music. Like the rest of them, he was pissed off that he wasn't the main focus of attention and really thought he was the important one. They had so little respect for my songwriting and what I did as a frontman, or what Bez did.
Disagree with all that. Untrue. That's Shaun's perception of me. It was totally untrue. Like I said, I've just got a new mortgage and I've got a kid on the way. Why would I throw the Mondays in? And I never said I wanted to leave the band. I think it was because I wasn't doing enough heroin, and I didn't do heroin, and I didn't do drugs. I was the sensible one. Somebody's got to write fucking tunes.
And there, I wonder if we just got to the heart of what not being culturally on board means.
It's in the past now, so I don't want to dig up anything, but that's a book that he wrote ages ago, isn't it?
It's over a decade old, that. I mean, that might have been during a Bad Blood period.
So why would I throw it all away like that? After a #1 and a selling album, and we're doing Going to Barbados, why would I go, oh, I don't want to be in the band anymore, you're all crap? No, it's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, there's a really interesting thing that Dave Grohl said about his time in Nirvana. Even though they were a three-piece band, there was two camps in the band. There was of the band and the entourage. There was the ones who did drugs and the ones who didn't. And if you did drugs, you were in the inner circle with Kurt Cobain. If you didn't, you weren't. And Dave Grohl didn't, and so he wasn't.
Yeah, well, I'm with Dave.
So Mark was out, but the band had a plan. They wanted to get Johnny Marr, former guitarist with the Smiths, into the band to replace him. And that's not all. They also wanted him to come to Barbados with them, according to Mark Day, with 24 hours notice, to help them actually write the album while they were there. Around 15 years ago on Channel B TV, Johnny Marr actually gave an interview where he told the whole story from his perspective.
I got kidnapped by Happy Mondays one time. It was just before they were going to do their famous last record in Barbados. I got a couple of messages on my machine from Shaun. It's like, John, I want to speak to you. You got to come round. I walked in and all of the band were there and the manager. And I was like, whoa, what's going on here? And it explained all of the band, that is, except for the guitar player, Mark Day.
Apparently, it wasn't the whole band. Gaz wasn't actually there for this meeting.
I've seen that Johnny Marr story when they nearly kidnapped it. I wasn't there. I wasn't even aware. I knew his name had come up, but I was not aware anyone had been asked to be in the band.
We're going to go to Barbados. What do you think of that? I was like, that sounds really good. Nice one. Good for you. And like, it's going to be great. Dead sunny. Beautiful out there. Fantastic. Well, what's it got to do with me? Well, the thing is, Mark's left. His head's gone. He's gone to be a postman. And he's found the Lord.
In Johnny Marr's interview, he said that the band said you'd found God and gone off to be a postman.
I mean, I was a postman, yeah. I'm not admitting that, but what, God? I should have done, actually, yeah. I didn't leave the band because of any of that. It's just all crap.
Fair enough.
We've got no guitarist. I was like, oh, right, okay. So you want me to come up with a couple of names for the guitar player for you? No. Get your swimming trunks. You're coming with us. I was like, all right, let me just have a bit of a think about that. No. They were like, don't be like that. What? Going on, all of us, all the lads are all going, all the lads.
And I was in bed one day and I got a phone call. I don't know who it was. I can't remember. I'm not naming names, but just said, Moose, you're out of the band. We're getting Johnny Marr in.
I could tell really that they weren't going to take no for an answer. But the idea of going to Barbados at that time with Happy Mondays for 8 weeks, 10, 12 weeks was just absolutely terrifying. Now, at that time, I was really not really convinced that one of them could have got a pint of milk without getting arrested. They weren't going to have no for an answer anyway. And I actually let them talk me into saying yes. So anyway, I went out the door and like, okay, problem solved. And I drove back, and I've driven for 20 minutes in a complete daze thinking, what was that about? What the hell was that about? I think I've just joined Happy Mondays. And I got, as I say, about 100 metres from my house. And I just spun the car around like that. Handbrake turn, burning rubber, put my foot right down, went straight back.
I'm not surprised he didn't want to do it, to be honest. We're throwing in the deep end.
I didn't know that was 24 hours before they were leaving that happened.
Oh, yeah. So how do you think I'm feeling? I'm like, oh, you don't want me in the band now?
I could see there was no other cars about. So anyway, I went in there and Shaun opened the door. And I said, Shaun, I don't know what I'm thinking. I can't go to Barbados with you. It's just impossible. I'm not the right man for the job. It's ridiculous. And he reacted like I'd left the band. Well, you can't do that. What? Well, after all this time, I'd been in the band about 25 minutes.
And so, with no suitable replacement guitarist having been found for the band, drummer Gaz began working on keeping the peace and mending bridges behind the scenes to get Mark back in the band.
But I got him back in the band, yeah. I had to phone the others and say, come on. The only thing I remember was speaking with Eric and getting Mark back in the band. So I remember the day they got to the airport, Mark Hutchins said, I owe you a drink, thanks for doing that.
So within 24 hours, Nathan rang me up and said, I'm back in the band, no apologies or anything. So I had to meet at the airport. So that was a bit awkward. Not much said. Communications in them days were great. Nobody talked about much. It's just you're in your own little shell.
And so, at the very last minute, Gaz managed to sort things out behind the scenes, and someone called Mark to tell him he was back in the band. And the Johnny Marr joining the Happy Mondays for 25 minutes episode was officially over.
He laid such a guilt trip on me. It was worse than when I left the Smiths. To this day, I still feel really bad about it. Sorry about that, Shaun. Could have been so good.
And, interestingly, despite everything that happened, Mark and Johnny actually get along fine.
Sometimes, we bump in and have a quick chat when we can, yeah. Because we have something in common. He's a City fan now, and he's got the same Jaguar Fender. Yeah, we talk about shit, Yeah. Don't see him much, though. See more of his guitars than he do in the guitar shop or some workshop where I take mine or something like that. Oh, there's Johnny's guitar. What sort of tuning's that?
But, as many of you guys know, this story is just kind of the introduction to a much, much bigger one, which is the unspeakable chaos that was the Happy Mondays in Barbados. A full feature on the frankly unbelievable carnage of that session is coming soon. And if you'd like to watch the full interview that I did with Monday's guitarist Mark Day, that is available on my Patreon as a bonus exclusive feature, and the link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and as always, I'll see you next time. And a massive thank you to all my supporters on Patreon. And if you would like to access bonus content, exclusive and extended videos, and ad-free content, the link is in the description. And hopefully, I'll see you inside.